Mike Gallagher. Every day, Mike visits with Mark Davis, morning host on 660 AM The Answer in Dallas. Here's today's M&M Experience.
I think it's fair to say that the majority of Republicans and Trump supporters completely agree with his promise. And I'm genuinely curious about something, and I mean this. For anybody who's objecting to Operation Midnight Hammer, what exactly is the argument in favor of furthering Iran's nuclear ambitions? In other words, what do they think, regardless of what they think of Trump, what do they believe a state sponsor of terrorism would do with nukes? So if you're opposed to stopping their ability to get their hands and create nukes, well, then what are you saying? You want them to have nuclear weapons?
Here's the answer you usually get, and that is that and it's sort of wishful adolescent thinking, it's naivete and short-sightedness and weakness, that diplomacy can do it. If only we tried harder to talk to the Iranian regime and just sort of convince them through the sheer force of our will, we could get them to stop. If Joe Biden just looks into the camera and says, don't,
right,
that'll magically at some point.
Well, the simple answer is Trump tried. He tried and tried and tried. He practically begged them to come to the negotiating table. Khomeini went into hiding. They couldn't even find him. They were trying to get to the negotiating table, and he's buried in a bunker somewhere, hunkered down. And I guess they don't have cell phone coverage down there in the bunker, wherever the Ayatollah was. So, look, what fascinates me about the opposition is they didn't say a word the 1,000 times that Trump has promised to do this for years. Mm-hmm. They didn't even notice. Say, okay, well, good. He said we can't get our hands on bomb. Mm-hmm. And then he does it. I do have to say that it was a little depressing for me to watch some of the Democrat response. Kind of shocking that you're really ultimately sort of you're siding against the United States instead of a moment of, look, what they pulled off Saturday night, Mark, was, you want to talk about a Herculean task. The head fake, the deke, they sent bombers off to the west.
Yep,
so they could be tracked.
Guam. No, we're not going to Guam. Where are we going? Where are they coming from?
Yep. And then they go, and not one shot fired upon any of our men. Not one, or one woman, apparently. Don't forget, the New York Times wants to remind you there was a woman apparently a part of the mission. So that awful misogynist Pete Hegseth said our boys. No, there was a girl. There was a girl, don't forget. So that's fine, and we honor the men and women of the U.S. military who pulled off this magnificent feat. And I appreciated seeing people like the former staffer for Clinton and Biden. This guy named Jamie Metzel. He served in the National Security Council staff during the Clinton administration and was a Senate staffer under Joe Biden. He admitted Kamala would have lacked the courage to do this. Do you think Kamala Harris would have been willing to bomb Iran, bomb these nuclear sites?
Nope.
Never. And incidentally, let's be careful when we talk about bombing Iran. No. I don't think anybody died. I'm not sure that there were any casualties. In fact, there's reports that they kind of knew what was coming. They cleared out. These were the nuclear facilities. This wasn't a civilian population.
In a remote village, of course.
In the middle of nowhere.
You hit it with a big enough munition. There might have been a sheep herder next door who might have gotten a little bit of a burn.
Might have left a mark.
Did you see who leapt to Twitter to say our thoughts are with the victims of the bombing of Iran?
Mark, the tragedy, they called it.
The Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department had that up for about 5 minutes before somebody went, whoa, and took it down.
We are issuing this statement to formally apologize for the offensive and inappropriate social media post recently posted on our department's social media platforms. Somebody's getting fired because the original statement. I know people are listening to you thinking, well, Mark has had a minor stroke. There's no way the Los Angeles County Sheriff's
wouldn't have done that.
No.
Do you have the original in front of you?
Our hearts go out to the victims and families impacted by the recent bombings in Iran. While this tragic event occurred overseas, The Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department is closely monitoring the situation alongside our local, state, and federal partners. At the moment, there are no known threats to Los Angeles County. Somebody actually thought that would be a good idea, Mark.
Yep.
And then I got a funnier one for you. Did you see Minnesota? Tim Walz.
I may not have.
Tim Walz did the same thing.
What?
This is actually very funny. Well, what's funny is somebody's response to it. So Tim Walz does the same stupid posturing. Oh, because of Trump's recklessness, Minnesota is on high alert. We are monitoring the situation. So somebody posted, breaking news, Tehran cancels their Minneapolis invasion plans after hearing that Tim Walz is monitoring the situation.
Oh, boy.
Mark, Hakeem Jeffries, they're irrelevant now. Who's paying attention to any of them? None of them said a word about Obama bombing all the places he bombed and everybody else, but Biden bombed, and Trump does a military action like this. We're not at war with Iran. We're not. We have entered, I guess it's fair to say, in a powerful way, the war between Israel and Iran by continuing to support Israel. But we're not going to have boots on the ground in Iran.
Nope.
But we better be ready. We better have our heads on a swivel. You saw what happened at the church in Michigan? You see the person that, now again, unrelated to this, apparently this is some lone nut that had some grief or beef or whatever. But a guy, tries to kill a lot of people at a Sunday worship service. One of the parishioners ran him over with his F-150 pickup truck, and then the other parishioner got out his legally concealed weapon and neutralized him.
Works for me.
Americans aren't playing anymore, Mark.
No, we're not.
And you know what? I am pretty confident that where you go to church, where I go to church, where most of our audience goes to church, somebody's going to be prepared to defend that congregation. Because in Michigan, here we go again. A good guy with a gun stopped a bad guy with a gun.
That's it.
And everybody, and Charlie Kirk said that over the weekend. Be prepared. Be armed. Locked and loaded. Be ready for anything that can happen.
So what is your level of expectation? Because I really believe that most of this is driven by Trump hatred. The gloom and doom, America's in severe danger now. What are the Chinese going to do? Putin is going to be welcoming some key Iranian official. Well, of course, they've been longtime BFFs for a long, long time. That's fine. I'm not going to sit here and say, I guarantee you nothing will happen. I wouldn't do that. I'm not going to sit here and say I have zero expectation of a retaliatory strike of any kind over there or over here. I wouldn't say that. I can't say that. But I think it's being wildly overblown and wildly overestimated, and maybe, and this is what depresses me, maybe in a sick, twisted part of the left, desired. They would love for something bad to happen in America so that they could go, ha, Trump did that to you.
Well, perhaps. My gut tells me that they're going to try to strike some of our military bases in the Middle East. I think that's the intelligence suggests that they're going to try to retaliate. They're going to do something. I don't think they're going to just roll over. I would hope that they could do some bluster and they could strut around and say death to America a few more times and then knock it off and realize that the world is not going to let you have nukes.
Nope.
You're not, to a nation that is committed to the destruction of Israel and the United States. It's just isn't going to happen.
Download the podcast and hear all of Mike and Mark's conversations at MikeOnline.com for the M&M Experience.
The M&M Experience. Subscribe to the Mike Gallagher Show podcast wherever you get your podcast. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day. Be safe. Keep fighting the good fight. I'm Mike Gallagher. God bless America.